My name is Jess Reyes, and I'm from the Achievement Assessments Office in RPA. It is my pleasure to share with you the 2023-24 Assessment System Update to STAR Assessments. Next slide, please. It begins with centering ourselves on our goals, which, as you know, in fall of 2022, the SF Board of Education committed to focusing its governance on improving student outcomes. So they adopted these SFUSD goals. The first one is around third grade literacy, which uses SBAC ELA results as its student outcome measures. The second one is around 8th grade math, which leverages SBAC math in the 8th grade as its student outcome measure. And the third one is around college and career readiness, which is based off of the college and career readiness indicators as defined by the California dashboard in the Department of Education. Next slide, please. So under the umbrella of each of the goals situates a set of interim goals. And in spring of 2023, Superintendent Wayne developed interim goals to monitor progress towards the overarching goals. For goals 1 and 2, interim goals leverage interim assessments as the student outcome measure. Next slide, please. Now, it's important to note and to situate ourselves in the context of an entire assessment system, which comprises a range of measures, from those that are school or classroom based on the left-hand side, occurring on a much more frequent basis, to those that happen on a more annual basis, like state or national assessments, and those are found on the right, and everything else in between. But the big moral of this story around assessment systems is not so much about a singular assessment, but rather that the range of assessments provides us with information to best support our students on their path towards college and career readiness. For this particular session, we will focus in on interim assessments specifically. Next slide, please. Now, the Center on Standards and Assessment Implementation, which is a joint effort between West Ed and CREST, defines interim assessments as we've called out here, which are common assessments administered periodically over the course of the school year, providing information on how students are performing relative to short and long-term goals, but importantly, predicting whether students are likely to test proficient on the end-of-year tests. And it's important, this last piece of predicting whether students are likely to test proficient on the end-of-year tests, because if we as a system, as a school district, are to ascertain our progress towards the overarching goal, we want that student outcome measure to basically be able to map onto and provide us confidence that what we're looking at can map onto the smarter balanced assessments. Next slide. Since our SFUSD goals are tied to SBAC ELA and SBAC math respectively, it was necessary to ascertain the correlation strength of SBAC for our previous interim assessments. And for those interim assessments from last year, which were the Fountain-Pinnell assessment, reading inventory, and the math milestone tests, we ran what's called a correlation study. And we found that Fountain and Pinnell and math milestone tasks lack the correlation strength needed to have the kind of confidence necessary in predicting SBAC, ELA, and math, respectively. And a strong correlation is defined as having an R of 0.7 or higher in statistics speak. Next slide. So in addition to the correlation strength issue, additional considerations also emerged that I think are really important for us to keep in mind. The first is that we need our assessments to have alignment with upcoming shifts that are happening in ELA and math curriculum, the instructional guidance, and professional development. Another is that there have been concerns regarding the validity of F&P as it pertains to screening for phonological processing needs. Also, the math milestone tasks are much better suited as a curriculum-based assessment. As you know, they are basically the summative of a chapter and isn't broad in the kinds of ways that we need our assessments to be able to do a forward look on how that maps against SBAC math. Finally, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt purchased the new assessments, and that happens to be the umbrella company under which Reading Inventory situates. And as a result of the purchasing of those new assessments, there will be a phase out of the Reading Inventory this year. Next slide. So this led to us having a dilemma. And so what we did was we engaged the assessment committee, which comprises equal representation from UESF, families, and school and district leaders. We convened them twice on March 22nd and April 19th, all around this problem of practice that I just described. And so we learned more about Renaissance Learning STAR assessments in particular, because there has already been proof of concept. There is a footprint around STAR assessments use in SFUSD. We use them during distance learning, and for the last several years, we've used them with RTIFs. And so in engaging around STAR assessments, the assessment committee provided feedback and recommendations that helped to inform the updates that were communicated by Dr. Wayne and Dr. Khanna, basically everything that I shared in these slides, and the ushering in and the launching in for 23-24 school year for our new interim assessments to be STAR Early Literacy for grades K with select curriculum-based measures for phonological processing screening, and for grades 1 through 8, STAR Reading and STAR Math. Next slide, please. And so here are some STAR assessment highlights that the STAR assessments are valid and reliable, meaning that they are grounded in the kind of research and normed on thousands of students from a variety of backgrounds and linguistic pathways. They are strongly correlated to smarter balanced results. They're administered online, so there is no need for printing or calibrating or entering scores in Illuminate or anything of that nature. So what this means is that there's more time for instruction. It takes less than a class period to administer. And finally, and more importantly, it provides a range of data on standards, on domains, on how students are doing to help support planning and instruction.